looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Are you looking to raise money for your community club or charitable organisation? Club Fundraising is an Australian family-run business, and we pride ourselves in creating partnerships with clubs, helping build stronger communities. Our free online platform provides everything you need for a successful campaign. With a step-by-step interface and best-in-class payment options, Club Fundraising makes it easy for clubs and contributors alike. Revolutionise the way you fundraise. Start your free campaign today. Head to clubfundraising.com.au. That's clubfundraising.com.au. The Night Train is brought to you by St Andrew's Hotel, 128 Nicholson Street, Fitzroy. Beautifully crafted, cosy and intimate spaces for your drinking and dining experiences.
Their time has arrived. I think last week that 10-man performance in the preliminary final was absolutely exceptional, so I'm going for the Knights.
But when you talk of Knights, it's a real fighting team.
Buskuk into the back of the net. Melbourne Knights take the lead 1-0. Melbourne Knights will win the Doherty Cup.
Croatia fans salute the goal that could be so vital.
And good evening, Knights fans. Welcome back to the Night Train, where we'll be discussing everything and anything Melbourne Knights. Once again, I'm your host, Anthony Zovac, and joining me again tonight is Josh Parrish. Josh, good evening.
Good evening, guys. I do apologise for the tardy start. That is entirely my fault, but we will go for the full hour regardless. We'll go late into the evening if necessary. And wow, what about that video intro? Shout-outs to Dan Pav.
Dan Pav, once again, coming in with the goods. Video intro is brilliant. Well done again, Dan, and to everyone involved down at the Knights. Another great week of football for us, Josh.
Yeah, late drama, but we'll get into that.
We'll get into that later. Now, once again, we're going to have a jam-packed show for you. The quiz is back this week. We're going to have some junior news, women's news. We'll be discussing the result from the game on Friday night and leading into this week's away fixture with Green Gully on Friday night. We'll have a bit of a recap on what we think that game's going to look like. So just to kick things off, we'll go through a bit of we'll thank the sponsors, I&D Group, Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club, Living Gems Lifestyle Resorts, the Australian Croatian Clubs of Melbourne and Geelong, Empire Global, and the show sponsor, once again, Tony Voyage down at the St Andrews Hotel. Thanks again, Tony, and to all the sponsors who dig into their pockets and look at to help the club out. We appreciate every single one of you. Without you, the club isn't anywhere near what it is and what it could be. So thanks again to all of our sponsors. We'll go through a bit of junior news now. So the juniors kicked off their regular season for the NPL teams this year. The under-12s girls won 3-0. Under-14s girls lost 5-0. Under-12s Wallabies lost 8-0. Under-12s Kangaroos 4-1 win against Green Gully. The under-13As had a 4-4 draw with Ballarat. The NPL under-14s had a 10-0 loss to Altona Magic. The NPL under-15s, Werribee versus Werribee, had a 1-0 win. The NPL under-16s versus Bringbank 2-2 draw. And the NPL under-17s against Goldman Valley with that 1-0 win. Special shout out to our under 13A boys for a magnificent comeback from being down 3-0 to end up with a 4-all draw. Congratulations to that team. That shows exactly the kind of fight we want to see down at the Knights.
That is sensational. That's a game that none of them will forget quickly.
No, definitely not. 3-0 down, you somehow managed to claw back 4 goals late. Reminds me a bit of a late drama in an Arsenal-Newcastle fixture many years ago. We still do have spots available due to injuries in our NPL under-14s and NPL under-17s. So please email juniors@melbourneknights.com.au for further information if you are interested. And we're also looking forward to our looking to add to our mini Roos teams under-8s to under-11s commencing their first round of their season this coming Sunday. So good luck to all of them this weekend, the ones that are starting their seasons off. And for the teams who lost this weekend, let's hope for better results this week. I'm sure you're all going to pick yourselves up, dust yourselves off, and come in much stronger for the week ahead.
Fantastic stuff.
Fantastic stuff, as always, from the juniors. Shout out to Susie Coolidge and everyone involved in the juniors who puts in so much work to make that all viable. And now we'll just go for a quick women's recap. The women's had their season kick-off on Sunday afternoon. The reserves with an unfortunate 10-0 loss, and the seniors with a 4-1 loss. So unlucky girls, better luck next week. Dust yourselves off, and I'm sure you'll right the ship next week. I'm pretty confident in the girls' team based on what we heard on the show last week, Josh. Yourself?
Yeah, look, these results kind of happen a little bit more often in women's football than men's football sometimes. And also, I think everyone's finding their level in this new competition and, you know,
definitely.
the fitness. I mean, the women have had such a long time out from football. Yeah. It's been like 600 days since the last match at this level, which is absolutely preposterous. So, you know, they're going to come back stronger, and you know, it can only be a learning experience.
Definitely. And look, I think that's something we probably didn't talk about enough last week in terms of NPL. All right, our season was cut short last year, but we still had 5-6 weeks of a year for our senior men's team. The women, however, finished their season the year before and trained pre-season for a couple of months and then had to pull up stumps completely. So heads up, girls. I'm sure it's going to get better next week. Once everyone starts getting into a bit more of that routine, I'm sure the results will turn around. Now, we've got the quiz question for this week. In our last win against Green Gully back in 2019, we're looking for the exact score. So once again, the text line will be open. We'll be accepting answers from our Facebook Live, but as you learned on the show last week, we had a caller come in pretty quickly, and you will get the chocolates if you do call in. So the text line and the call line are up on the banner, but for anyone listening, the talkback number is 9944 9999 and the SMS number is 0428 933 345. So once again, you're encouraged to call in. Caller will get first preference, but we will be checking the comments and the text line.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to previewing that Green Gully game. I saw them in action on Friday night, so I'm actually of some use in terms of the opposition scouting, but we've got plenty to talk about before then, including all sorts of bizarre happenings around NPL and even European football.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was an interesting weekend of football, to say the least, worldwide.
Look, a new league, a closed shop where you can buy your way in, where money rules all, where there's no promotion and relegation, where it's just the glossiest franchises playing the same games over and over again to build out the season. It's not something we'd ever do in Australia, is it?
Oh, no. I can't imagine why anyone would think that's a good idea. Anyways.
I'll just let that hang there.
We'll do a quick around the grounds. Now, probably one of the more surprising results for me this weekend, Avondale and Port Melbourne playing out a 1-1 draw.
It was nuts. Port Melbourne, I flagged on the show last week that they had a bit of fight in them with their battling loss to Hume, and they just wouldn't quite roll over until the very final minutes of that one. And they showed that. I mean, Chris Duggan is one of the best strikers in the league at the moment. He's in the form of his life.
Yeah, definitely.
He's shared about 10 kilos, I reckon, coming into this year. I didn't recognise him the opening game of the season.
Oh, me neither.
When the Knights played there.
He walked on. I was wondering who they'd given his number to.
Who's this muscly fellow up
Yeah.
front? He was still good last season. He was just a bit, slower, a bit more of a hold-up striker. And he's looking fearsome, and he really ran rings around Avondale in the first half of what I saw of it. And then a late comeback, a scramble off a corner, Charlie Beverley of all people smashing one in. But 1-1. Not many people pick that in our NPL tipping competition at the station, let me tell you.
Not in ours either, let me tell you. Probably for me, one of the shocks of the weekend, if I'm honest. But again, Port Melbourne showing they've got a bit of fight up their sleeve. There's definitely enough talent in their squad for them to make it run at the top 6 this year. But
I think they're a little less reliant on Conor Gaia.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously he's left. He was kind of their creative fulcrum in previous seasons, and now that without him, it's kind of like the responsibility has been shared a bit more, so they're a bit less predictable going forward.
Definitely. And now going over Bentley with a 1-0 win over Oakley. Again, for me, Bentley coming into form right around the wrong time again for the Knights, I suppose. We've got them in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And they're starting to look dangerous again.
Well, you just missed the real Oakley injury crisis, unfortunately. I mean, it was starting around the time the Knights played them, but Oscar Dillon on crutches, apparently. I think Archie's been ringing everybody in the phone book to try and get a new centre-half desperately, but they're having a bit of trouble at the back. Bentley, I think, returning to something approaching what we expected.
Yeah,
At
definitely.
the start of the campaign, they had all those injuries on the eve of the season with, Losty and Lambatarides and Kieran Dover all out, and they had to get those last-minute signings, like, right up until, minutes before the actual window closed. Nick Tolios was calling people trying to get replacements in. He did get a couple of decent blokes. I think Bauman, who scored that free kick earlier on in the season, has been a good pickup from Malvern City, if I'm correct.
Yep.
But, they're starting to get some players back, starting to have something approaching form. Braden Crowley can't seem to hit, a cow's ass with a banjo at the moment. That doesn't help. But,
No, definitely not.
But they eventually got the goal, and I'm sad that we didn't see, just for the sake of the memes, the goalkeeper for Oakley, Nick Feely, score in the last minute. I don't know if you saw this, but he had a header cleared off the line.
Oh, no way.
In the last play of the game. It would have been the greatest NPL equaliser.
It is what you do love to see a keeper going forward.
I mean, Matty Ryan got a flick on for Arsenal. Assist at least, didn't score, but...
you'll take it. Anytime a keeper goes up for a corner, the whole crowd's really hoping something happens.
Yeah, even the home crowd, I think, secretly is like, no, this would be pretty cool.
What, if you're going to cop one from the goalie. Like, you'll wear that. It's the romanticism of football when the goalkeeper goes up for a corner. You're always hoping for something special. Dandy City with a 1-1 draw against this week's opponents, Green Gully.
Yeah, I was calling this one alongside Joey Lynch again, and it was a very disappointing performance from Gully. I was expecting much bigger things from them. They had Jay Davies back. They had Matthew Fletcher back coming off the bench. They've, got their full-strength team, essentially, and I don't know what was going on, but their build-up play was very slow and ponderous around the back. Sasha's Dandy City were very, very disciplined and kept their shape and counterattacked with purpose through Delano Ferro and Teleski on the other side. It was really disciplined performance. They had actually double the shots of Green Gully. It was 16-8, if I remember. So they actually dominated in terms of chances created, even though I reckon they had about 30% of the ball, 35.
Now, one thing I will say about Dandy, obviously their form hasn't been great if you're looking at their results, but especially over the last maybe 3 to 4 weeks, through patches of games, they're not playing as bad as their record shows.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Through patches of games like that 2-2 draw with Altona, the better part of the team, through the better part of 90 minutes, they were the better team in that game.
Yeah.
And that you just lose your head for 5 minutes at the end of the game, basically gift Altona 2 goals, and...
They should have got a result against Oakley as well.
Yeah.
They were better team for 65 minutes, and then lapse 10 minutes they concede 2, including a really soft one from the keeper letting Wade Decker pass it in with his left foot.
Yeah.
And, they lost that game when they really shouldn't have. It's been unbelievably frustrating for them this season, but I think it will turn around eventually. The sheer law of averages, they have to get a result sooner or later. I just wonder whether, you get into this slump where the morale it really is in the tank and whether you can recover from that. But right up until the final whistle, they were generating chances. They had young Brito come off the bench and, I heard Sasha giving them big pep talk. This is your moment, before he came on. And then he had a really good chance and fired like this far wide of the far post and, didn't look up when he could have cut the ball back at the edge of the box, the last play of the game. It was just agonising. They should have got the 3 points, but they couldn't quite put the ball in the back of their net, and that's what happens.
Yeah, look, I think that's going to be a bit of a theme of not just tonight's show, but a bit of a theme across the weekend where not taking your chances really can potentially cost you games.
Yeah, absolutely. Whereas when you're at Dandenong Thunder 4, Hume 3, everyone was taking their chances.
Everyone's taking their chances, and my God, some of the decisions in that game, Josh. We were talking about it just before the show. One of possibly the greatest handball I've seen since Thierry Henry's infamous one right before the Euros.
That was outrageous.
Like, outrageous.
He caught the ball.
Clean grab. Like, in AFL, that's called a mark. He goes back and slots it for 6
every
points.
day of the week.
But in some universe, the referee has managed to completely make a miss of that. Even if you're standing behind the bloke, like the ball's dropping, the ball stops dropping, and then you see it come down softly right next to his foot. Like, it was that blatantly obvious that he'd caught and dropped the ball next to him. And look, we were discussing as well before the show, Hume's social media team definitely had noticed that the referee had made a few decisions they didn't exactly agree with.
They were ringing the Game of Thrones bell. Shame. Shame.
Well, look, I mean, you got a feel for Hume. The penalty that was given against them versus the one that wasn't given for them, one was pretty soft. The other one, blatant handball not given.
It was outrageous. That whole game was nuts. I don't know if you heard the commentary on it. It was also very funny. Co-commentator, I think his name is it Bob Brown?
Yeah.
Bonada. Wow.
Yeah, look, if you are looking to have a look at the highlights over the weekend.
I actually loved it. It was madcap.
Yeah.
It suited the game.
It did. Like a 4-3 result, you need a bit of spark from the commentators as well. But anyone listening in after the show, definitely go check out the highlights. There's a bit to see, and go check out Hume City's best Game of Thrones impersonation with their shaming of a couple of decisions from the weekend past. One from our game even made their video, if you believe it.
Yeah, I don't know why they decided to take up Altona Magic's cause. But,
no.
Maybe they were trying to demonstrate that it wasn't just self-interest. I don't think it's going to save them a fine from Football Victoria.
Wouldn't have thought so. Football, the Federation.
I think there were actual dollar signs that popped up in the
the Federation would have just
eyes.
been sitting there like they've just hit 3 sevens in a row on a pokey machine, mate. They're wrapped. Thanks for the money. Keep it coming. I hope they do that every week.
Saturday night slap for the FB boys.
Eastern Lions with a 1-0 loss to Heidelberg. Burgers once again coming out with a 1-0 win. They're just solid. Again, Josh.
Katsakist.
The
Knights got Katsakist. It happens to the best of us.
It happens to everyone. Again, Heidelberg, I think, just showed their quality again. They didn't create overly much, just like in the game they played against us. But, when you're solid defensively, you got a decent bloke in between the sticks, and you're clinical enough to take your 1 or 2 chances when they pop up, you're going to hold on to results.
Yeah. I mean, they've really brought back this kind of traditional 80s vibe to Olympic Village. It's already kind of like stepping back in time, going to that ground.
Yeah.
And now they're doing the Saturday 3 p.m. kickoffs because the lights don't work. And it's like stepping back into 1982 every time you're at a Heidelberg game. And the way they play is sort of reminiscent of that era as well, despite the pitch being not a mud pit and actually pristine. But, it works for them. They're getting results, and you can't knock them. You can't
fault it. And South Melbourne with a 2-0 win against St Albans.
Moving along.
Yeah, moving along. We're not going to pump them up too much. We'll see them in a few weeks.
Look, they're playing well.
They're playing well. They're getting results. You'll give it to them. I'm
still skeptical.
Skeptical.
I've already spoke about this on the show. I'm still skeptical of how long this kind of this bandwagon can keep on rolling with the way they're playing and the lack of chances they're generating. But
again, momentum is a funny thing. You know how it works. When you look at on the opposite side of the table, Dandy City's probably played well enough to have a win or two at this stage through the season, haven't got it. South Melbourne, there's a couple of games they probably should have dropped points in. They haven't. It can either drag you down or lift you up, and at the moment, right in time for us again, South Melbourne are just finding that bit of form. We're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, we'll be recapping Friday night's game, having a look forward to Green Gully, and hopefully we've got someone calling in for the quiz.
Do you want to remind the quiz question before we go?
So, a quick reminder before we do go to the break. In our 2019 win over Green Gully at home, we're looking for a correct score. So once again, the talkback and SMS number is on the banner underneath me. But for anyone just listening in, the SMS number is 0428 933 345. And the talkback number, which will get preference, is 9944 9999. We'll see you after the break.
Whether you're a land developer, in local government or a service authority, Lenco Group will help you get your job done on time and in a cost-effective manner. Lenco Group provides superior civil engineering and advisory services by creating, communicating and delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. For all your infrastructure requirements associated with residential, commercial or industrial development projects, visit our website lencogroup.com.au or give us a call today on 1300 152 626.
Are you looking to raise money for your community club or charitable organisation? Club Fundraising is an Australian family-run business, and we pride ourselves in creating partnerships with clubs, helping build stronger communities. Our free online platform provides everything you need for a successful campaign. With a step-by-step interface and best-in-class payment options, Club Fundraising makes it easy for clubs and contributors alike. Revolutionise the way you fundraise. Start your free campaign today. Head to clubfundraising.com.au. That's clubfundraising.com.au.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
At WinnersBet, we don't just enjoy a punt, we live for it. WinnersBet is 100% Aussie owned, and we love all things racing. Up for a tote? Win and get the highest payout across the 3 national TAB totes for all winning bets on Australian gallops. And we'll pay out on both winners if your horse loses in a protest during any Australian gallop or harness. Support your local. WinnersBet. Go to winnersbet.com.au now. Gamble responsibly. The Night Train is brought to you by St Andrews Hotel, 128 Nicholson Street, Fitzroy. Beautifully crafted, cosy and intimate spaces for your drinking and dining experiences.
We are more than engineers. We are more than project managers. We are more than surveyors. We are more than infrastructure specialists. We are more than planners. So, who are we? We are problem solvers, providing the highest quality service and results. We are a team of skilled professionals, focused on customer needs and outcomes. We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
The Night Train is brought to you by St Andrew's Hotel, 128 Nicholson Street, Fitzroy. Beautifully crafted, cosy and intimate spaces for your drinking and dining experiences.
I think the Knights, their time has arrived. I think last week that 10-man performance in the preliminary final was absolutely exceptional. So I'm going for the Knights.
When you talk of Knights, it's a real fighting team.
Stuck into the back of the net. Melbourne Knights take the lead 1-0. Melbourne Knights will win the Doherty Cup.
And welcome back to the show, guys. Now, the last result we have to discuss from the week is obviously our wonderful 2-1 win on Friday night to Altona Magic. Now, that we're in regards to how the tables finished up for the weekend. South Melbourne on top of the table on 18 points. Avondale and Heidelberg tied first, second and third, respectively, on 15 points. The Knights in fourth on 14. Oakley Cannons in fifth on 12. Green Gully rounding out the six on 11 points. Dandy Thunder, Hume City and Bentley Greens all respectively on 11 points as well. Coming in at 10th, we have Port Melbourne jumping up to 9th. At 11th, Eastern Lions on 8 points, and then rounding out the bottom three, St Albans on 8, Altona Magic on 4 and Dandenong City on 3 points. Now, Josh, interesting game on Friday night, to say the least.
Yeah.
Knights never to know how to do it the easy way. You score, Webb scores a pretty good goal early on in the game, and then the flurry of chances we had between then and when somehow Magic managed to score, the game really should have been put to bed by about half time, you would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, they put themselves in a difficult position after being the better team. And I think in terms of the balance of play, justice was done at the end, but certainly a little helping hand from Mr. Johnny Barrero.
Oh, look, I've watched the footage back. He gave it a penalty, so, I mean, we'll take it. We'll take the goal that stood after and we'll take the 3 points and run. But, I think it's been a bit of a common theme over the last couple of weeks that, through dominant patches of the game, we're not taking our chances to put games into positions where we're in a position to lose the game. Like, if you look at the loss to Heidelberg and even what potentially happens on Friday night if you don't get that late penalty, I mean, we should have had at least 3 or 4 goals. But, I mean, the positive you can take from that is we've created, probably the first or second most amount of chances in the league to this point of the season.
Yeah, it's got to pay off sooner rather than later. I mean, you talk about, the stats and so forth, the XG. They don't have XG for MPL, but the Knights would be right up there if they did,
definitely,
right?
Definitely, without a doubt. I mean, if you look at through nearly every game we've played this year, we've had at least 2 or 3 spells. But in most games, we've been the dominant team for the better part of 70 minutes. Or even if you look back to Friday night's game, there's, unfortunately for Caleb, he worked, his work rate was phenomenal. He was getting himself into good positions, but he missed a couple of chances, and you look across the front three, he wasn't the only one. Like, there was a few blatant, I know Oldfield's a good keeper, but, you're not doing yourself any favour when you put it into his chest.
No, I mean, he's going to gobble those up every day of the week because he's a good keeper. Nothing's going to go through him. You've got to beat him. You got to find a corner, and easier said than done, of course, by us blokes.
Oh, look, of course. by no stretch, I probably wouldn't have scored any of the chances we had on Friday night. I'm an absolutely shocking footballer.
I wouldn't have been able to get to the spot where the shot was taken.
That neither. And by the time I got there, I probably would have been puffing that hard.
So we're all armchair experts around here.
Armchair experts, but
that's the nature of the show, unfortunately.
That isn't. Look, you know, those who can't play talk on radio. So here we are.
Criticise. But you know, it was a good performance. It's just
again, great performance, but
I mean, especially that patch around sort of the half-hour mark.
Yeah.
There was just chance after chance after chance
Definitely.
after chance. Was it Trevor who started on the right?
yeah, Trevor. And
He was
look,
unbelievable.
He, for me, was, and again, we'll come into this in a little 3-2-1 conversation we have after we talk about the game, but, you know, when Mo's now, that's his second game he's missed through this bit of injury, you know, Trevor does, they're very different players. He gives you something different on that right-hand side, and I think he was absolutely phenomenal on Friday night.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, he was really impactful. He was giving their left back absolute nightmares. Coming inside with the ball as well, wasn't just sticking to the touchline.
Yeah.
He's got that instinct of a forward wanting to get into scoring positions, and I don't think it's long before he does get a couple of goals. Really classy finish for the first goal, we must say, while we're criticising the finishing.
Yeah, well, look, Webb had, it was a fantastic finish for the first goal. But again, I think that comes down to, like, the positive you can take from that is the finishing will come. You know, like, you can see how well everything else has started to click to this point in the season in terms of how we're playing, how we're pressing, the amount of chances we're creating. You know, at some point, it's going to click. And when that starts clicking up front, when those chances start getting buried, you know, we're going to be a real tough team to break down. Once again, I think the back four was solid on Friday, and, you know, shout out to Breeze for his first little cameo coming on at halftime. Unfortunately, not through injury, his first game back, you know, you don't want to rush him back, getting him playing the full second half, and then coming off injured, missing subsequent games going forward. For me, he was just about the best player on the park that half an hour he was on.
Yeah, he gives you that intensity, doesn't he? And the purpose and drive with the ball. He doesn't really do, you know, dead possession.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really pass backwards and sideways.
Nah.
If you can ever possibly avoid it, he loves to just drive forward. He doesn't mind dribbling through the centre of the park, spraying balls out to the flanks or trying to have a shot on goal himself. He's a player I really admired when I was watching him at Preston, and he's going to give the Knights something different. You know, we've got the silky, languid types in McGarry and Giselle, but he's a bit more of a box-to-box, real driving force that's going to demand the best out of everybody around him and show it by example as well. So I'm really glad to see him as a midfield option to change things up.
Definitely. And I think something else for a few of the Knights fans who might not have seen him play before that and don't really know much about the pedigree of the player. I mean, last year he was sent off, obviously, in that first game of the year and subsequent 10-week suspension. So, not
seen much of him, yeah.
You didn't see much of him last year. This first game, really, he's played apart from a couple of knocks in pre-season. For a few of the fans who might not have seen him play, that's just a glimpse of what we're hoping to see from him for the rest of the year. And I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw on Friday night. Like you said, Josh, he's a bit of a difference maker and a different player through the middle of the park. We've got McGarry and Giselle who have done, I think, pretty well up to this point this year. But through patches of games when things sort of aren't going, he's definitely someone who can come in and play that bit of a different role through midfield. Also someone who can probably slot into that 10 role behind a striker.
Definitely.
And add something up front there. You know, his work rate on Friday was phenomenal, but again, so was it across the park from every single one of our players, I think.
At Gully in 2019, back into 2019, when he moved there in the transfer window, he was being used off the left flank and coming inside as sort of an extra midfielder to overload that area. And they had really attacking, overlapping left back, which sort of filled the space. So that was kind of unorthodox, and I was thinking, what are they doing here? But, you know, he's really versatile, it showed in that spell there. So he can basically plug any gap due to injury or suspension or whatnot. He can come in and play pretty much any role across midfield and even the forward line with, obviously he couldn't play as a 9 by himself, but in this 2-striker system that the Knights are playing, I think he could slot into either one of those roles and do absolutely fine there as well. So
and that's, I think that goes back to the difference between where we are at this point through the year in comparison to probably the last 3 or 4 years of the seasons that we had completed is we're not as one-dimensional as we have been in terms of not just in personnel, but in the system we play. You can see week to week it does change. Like we've spoken about this many times on the show, about the high press where we're really looking to push teams up the park, put them under pressure, try and get the ball back as quickly as possible, and then be very proactive in possession. But the difference you've got this year is between your front 3 or 4 with this 2-striker sort of system we're playing and 2 wingers. You've got Mo, Trevor, Jan, Caleb, Webb, now Breeze who can slot in there. You know, and there's another couple of younger boys really pushing up through the 21s who are really pushing into those spots as well. The combination of any one of those sets of players up the front, it's just going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
And there's so much difference in terms of how you can play depending on, you know, whether you're playing Caleb and Webb through the middle and Trevor and Jan like we did on Friday, or if you look back to round 1 with Mo out on the right. You know, him and between Mo, Trevor, Jan changing up and down those wings. Jan as well was magic. He got into a really good position to win the penalty for the winning goal. But even outside of that, there's something I think people maybe don't talk about enough is there's been a few times over the last 3 or 4 weeks where we're pushing forward, we'll lose possession, and Jan makes this absolute, you know, stupid run backwards and gets himself in a position that nearly no other player in the league could get back into just because of how quick he is to get back and save a potential attack.
We've got some text coming through. Really enjoying the way we play. Credit to coach and signings. And I've just seen one from last week that we didn't read out. We were giving South a bit of stick for the way they were playing. Please don't give South motivation. Fair enough. Good shout from whoever that one was texting in. It's the same person who sent both texts. So 0428 33345. We've still got a prize to win for the trivia question. Score line, exact score in the Knights win over Gully.
Yeah, and look, again, we're going to give our merch peddler Jerome a bit of a shout out because the bit of the new winter stock has come in. We'll have maybe next week some of it in the studio for you to see on the show, but if you were one of the people at the game on Friday night, I'm sure you would have seen everyone in the puffer jackets. They look phenomenal again. Once again, I think we're going to run away with the best merch in the league. I don't think it's really close, but it's going to look mad, and I'm sure we're going to get plenty of our fans out in the merch this Friday night at Green Gully.
You may notice that we've got a little bit of a shortage of merch behind us. The reason is I've been wearing them constantly and I didn't wash them in time to bring them back into the studio.
And just a couple of comments off the Facebook Live. Dan Pav, the infamous Dan Pav. Chance is not creative enough to really test Oldfield. I think he's probably on the money there. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason he's played at the clubs he's played at and for how long he's played there. He's a good keeper. You're not going to beat him by putting it, you know, half a foot to his left or to his right. You really got to test him out to beat him.
You know, he trained with the Liverpool first team when he was a youth player, and
really?
Rafa liked him, and then Rafa got sacked or left, or however he left Liverpool, and then his sort of progression halted there. He nearly gave up football and all this. He's got an interesting story, Oldfield, but that shows the pedigree of the guy. When he was a high school student, he was training with the Liverpool first team when they had an injury or something and they needed a spare keeper. So, I mean, he's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you think, we might think about Rafa Benitez, I think he's probably one of the more underrated managers over the last 20 years.
He's got an eye for talent,
He's got an eye for talent. Pretty good stamp of approval, I'd say.
What did you make of Altona? Because I've struggled to get a grip on them all season. I know the chaos in the dugout has been a big talking point with them, but actually on the park and the signings they made such a splash, and they've had virtually no results this season.
Look, for me, it was, again, I haven't watched much of them play. I've sort of paid attention to the highlights as I do over the weekends, but from what I saw on Friday night, again, they're a team that if you give them, with the talent they've got, if you give them a chance or two throughout a game, they will punish you as seen. You know, a bit of an unfortunate ball, you know, straight into one of their attackers to set up the run forward for their goal in the 90th minute. But, you know, outside of that, they were a bit lackluster on Friday, and I'm not sure if that's because of the system we were implementing didn't really allow them to play the kind of football they wanted to play. And look, I think, again, Knight Stadium's going to be a very tough place to travel to for most teams this year. So it's really hard to get a read on where they're sort of sitting and how they're going to go. But it was fairly unimpressive, I think, from them on Friday. But, again, you know, they had 2 or 3 chances for the game. They took one of them, nearly enough to pull a point out of there.
Could have still had Loza, guys. You know. Over at Westgate now, where your current manager came from.
Yeah,
bizarre decision making going on there. But anyway, whatever. They're really ambitious and maybe a bit impatient. I think that's what happens sometimes.
Look, I'd definitely agree with that sentiment. For me, sacking a manager 4 weeks into the season, short of 3 or 4-0 losses in a row. You can't really get a read on where your team's at in 4 weeks. Like even now, we're talking about where everyone's sort of at. Where we've got the transfer period coming up now in the league.
That can change everything.
That can change everything, So even for teams like Bentley now who have got players coming back from injury, Heidelberg seems to be finding their feet where the Knights are looking pretty dangerous. Everyone's going to look to maybe add a player or two now. So, the league could completely flip on its head.
Yeah. There was someone asking you about trade transfers. I don't have any scoops or anything, but we saw Hammer sign for Dandy Thunder the other day.
Yeah, well, look, that's probably something we should talk about. Ex-striker Hamish Watson.
Back in the league.
Signing for Dandy Thunder.
Which I guess tells me that they can't get Barnes back because they were still trying.
They were definitely still trying to get Barnes. And, look, I think, Hamish is going to do pretty well for him. Different player to Barnes, obviously, but great striker.
I think he suits their needs because...
He suits their needs, but for me, it's not... For me, that wasn't their biggest need. Like, for me, they're still through the middle of the park. They're not creative enough. I mean, we've all seen what Hamish can do up front with 1 or 2 chances, but I feel like they're still probably 2 or 3 players short of really making a push.
I think it does address one of their needs, maybe not their most pressing, but I did notice look, they scored 4 the other night, so it seems a bit silly, and Hamish did play. Obviously, he's just going through hotel quarantine or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, may not have to with the New Zealand border opening up. Anyway, whatever. Boring administrative stuff, but he didn't play on the weekend. But I have noticed in other games they've struggled to get a foothold because Bernarda... or Bonada, as I should call him now after the commentary on Saturday night. He's a really good player, but he's not an out-and-out 9 for me. I think he's better when he's facing goal. So I think they needed somebody to play that kind of hold-up striker role, back to goal, win the knockdown and let their wingers take over from there and then, rock up on the penalty spot for the finish. I think he'll do pretty well there, you never know. With the MPL, things can go haywire in an instant. But I would also keep an eye on Oakley in this transfer window. They're going to try and sign a centre-back due to their injury crisis. And I imagine Dandy City will be tempted to splurge some resources given where they are on the table, even if their performances haven't been too bad.
Yeah, look, it's definitely an interesting time coming up in and around the MPL. We're going to go to... Actually, we've got had done a couple of interviews on Friday night. We'll definitely flash over to those. I think we'll start with... We'll have a bit of a listen to what... For the first time, actually, we spoke to our assistant coach, Diogo, after the game on Friday. Josh is getting that ready for you now.
Yeah, we'll throw to Diogo's interview on Friday night.
Good evening, Knights fans. We're joined by our assistant coach, Diogo. Diogo, what are your thoughts on the game, mate?
Yeah, look, I thought we created plenty of chances in that game, enough to win the game pretty easily. But look, that's football. The main important thing is that we are creating those chances at least, and I think that even though we scored late on, I think we definitely deserve the 3 points.
Look, mate, I think every supporter that's watched the game tonight will walk away thinking we're the better team in the park. What's the sort of plan into the week just to sort of work on maybe capitalising on a few more of those sort of chances that we've got?
Of course, that's what we're constantly working on, but we keep working on how we're going to keep creating those chances. And luckily at the moment we've been creating them every game. So every game we've played, we've created plenty of chances. So we keep enforcing, reinforcing all the normal messages, staying solid at the back, which is really important also. And once it clicks one day, I think we can really put a team away nice and early.
Now look, mate, we've had a bit of a rough run these last 4 weeks in terms of the competition we've had to play. How do you think the team's fared so far at this point through the season?
Look, we've done well. We always look at we could have been better, and there were some games we dropped points that we think that we could have had and would have been a bit higher up on the ladder. But that's football. Like I said, we keep focusing on ourselves, and there's no easy games in this league. As you can tell by now, Altona Magic started a season. A lot of people are probably tipping them to be right up top, and they're not at the moment. So every game we take it in the same way. We try and get the 3 points.
Thanks for your time, mate. and that was Diogo on Friday, echoing some of the sentiments we've discussed already. And look, I think if you told me at the start of the season we'd be sitting fourth, 7-8 rounds through the year, I mean, I would have taken it, Josh.
Yeah, 100% after the kind of mediocrity and misery of the past couple of campaigns. I mean, a short one last season, of course, which maybe could have turned around, but we'll take this any day of the week.
Ever the optimist, I'm going to say last year would have turned around at some point as well, but we've looked pretty good this year.
100%. We've got some comments coming through. James says some of the football nights played on Friday can only be described as awesome. It was just our finishing or lack thereof that let us down, unfortunately. It was incredibly entertaining. He said the amount of chances we butchered could have been 8-1.
Well, really, and it could have been. I mean, we've spoken about that already. For me, it's going to come. Like, teams that aren't playing well don't create chances, period, And I think we've got the talent in the squad to definitely do better in terms of our finishing in front of goals, and I'm sure it's going to come. It's going to come together sooner rather than later for me.
Yeah, and on a totally different note, Robert says we want donuts on the hill.
Now, look, this is going to have to get a mention, and shout out to everyone in the kitchen staff, because from what I heard on Friday night, there's people still talking about the donuts from Friday night today.
Ooh.
Apparently, they were absolutely phenomenal. So there are shouts to get a little fryer over on the quarry side of the ground. I mean, guys, just walk over to the other side and get yourself some donuts. Bring 12 back instead of 3 next time.
You probably don't need the exercise to walk off the donuts that you're eating.
Exactly.
So, it's for your benefit.
Definitely for your benefit. But look, we also had a chat actually to Caleb Mikulich post the game on Friday night, Josh.
We'll just throw to Caleb Mikulich now post-match.
Good evening, Knights fans. We're joined by striker Caleb Mikulich. Caleb, what are your thoughts on the game, mate?
I thought we were pretty dominant from the get-go. I think the whole 90 minutes, the game should have been over in about 70 minutes, to be honest, but positives all around. The boys, we finally got another win, which wasn't doing us justice over the last 3 games because I thought we were playing well, but it's good to finally get 3 points again.
Now look, mate, we're 3 from 4 at home. Home ground's looking like a bit of a fortress this year. Is that something psychological from the squad, or just how we seem to play at home?
Definitely, especially this year. In pre-season and whatnot, Steve built into our heads that we want to make this a scary place to come, and I think it's working.
Now look, mate, we've had a big run over the last few weeks. Good to get back in the winner circle. How do you think the team's fared so far at this point through the season?
Look, no one's dropped off. Everyone's fighting for places, and that's what makes it exciting. And you can see that everyone wants to be here and everyone wants to pull a shift, and it's working. I don't think we've had a sort of bad game, so to speak. I think we've been in every single game that we've played in, so it's all positive from here.
Now look, mate, we've drawn Hellas in the cup. I'm wrapped. I'm sure the squad's fired up. Yeah. How's the feeling in the change room about the cup draw?
We knew straight away. We knew before the draw even came out we were going to get South. It's just inevitable. But look, especially at their ground, it's always exciting. Even though it's on a Tuesday, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people coming down and look forward to it.
Thanks for your time. Now, look, Caleb echoing the sentiments of a fair few Knights fans there, I'm sure, in terms of us once again drawing the cup.
He knows what's up.
He knows what's up. Now, look, we've discussed the game. We're going to go around for the 3-2-1 for this weekend for the radio player of the year. I'm going to give Breezy the 1 vote this week. I think his first game back, the shift he put in for that half an hour, I think if he'd played the full 90, he probably would have been a shout to get the 3 votes for the weekend. But I thought he was absolutely phenomenal on Friday night, Josh.
Yeah, impact sub. What you need is that kind of purpose from your substitutes. When they come on and change the game, he changed the game. And, I'm not sure if the Knights would have got over the line without him. We'll never know, but it was a great cameo performance. We look forward to more of the same.
Definitely. For the 2 votes, I've gone with Trevor Sycamore. His second consecutive start now after Mo's injury. Again, I thought just going off on improving on what he done in the game against Oakley 2 weeks ago, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal up that right-hand side. Created a few chances, was constant threat because of the defender didn't know whether he was cutting inside or going outside. Just kept everyone on their toes. He was a menace on that right-hand side on Friday night.
Yeah, he really stood out to me. I was calling a game, so I had to kind of skim over some of the match, but he's the player that I thought, wow, he's got legs on him. He was burning people left, right and centre. He was really working hard in the press. He was just a delight to watch. You love players who get the crowd up on their feet, who dribble, who run at players, who have the bravery and confidence, even at that, at that age. How old is he? 20 or something?
I think he's around 20, maybe 21.
He doesn't have any fear at all the way he plays. He's willing to, because it's a brave thing to do to take on a defender one-on-one. Some people call it the hardest thing to do in football is to beat a player, and he just does it over and over again, makes it look easy. Yeah,
definitely. And I think just based on what you saw from him early in the season, those first couple of cameos he had, he really seems to be coming into his own in terms of the player he's become since the start of the season. I think you can see marked improvements in his game from those first couple of cameos he had to the last couple of weeks. So he's definitely going to be one to watch going forward.
Yeah, I think the difference for me is that he's keeping his cool when he approaches the penalty area now a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
We saw sometimes, that St Albans game comes to mind where he did have a really good cameo, and then you get into the final third and kind of go, oh, what do I do with it now?
Yeah.
I've got here. And it's that decision making, the way to sort of help yourself slow down in that moment and realize how much time you have. And he's really starting to get that now. It's not an easy skill to learn, but he seems to be improving at a rapid rate. So exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff. And for me, the 3 votes for the weekend, I gave to Nick Lovan at right back. I thought he was a player that, this is his second stint at the Knights. And I think he's really coming into his own this year, especially on Friday. He was a couple of times, interceptions off the ball, a few runs he made on the ball, getting up and down. He was, his marking was phenomenal. Distribution, again, was good. I thought, for me, he's got the 3 votes for the Friday.
Yeah, he's maybe been the unsung hero this season. We haven't mentioned his name too often, but... he just hasn't made mistakes. He's been so solid and so consistent every game, and particularly stood out on Friday night. So good to see Nick Lovan getting some recognition.
Yeah, look, definitely. For me, he's sort of he's just consistent. You don't, and I think especially when he was a bit of a younger player, he was prone to maybe the mistake or two, and that was really the thing that sort of stands out. Even if you look back to the FFA Cup game from 2 years ago, everyone remembers that back pass he made, unfortunately, that got run onto and cost us a goal. But through the rest of the game, he was brilliant. Yeah. But unfortunately, people remember those sort of mistakes. And I think that sort of marred a bit of his time at the Knights, maybe 1 or 2 errors like that really stand out for people. But for me, this season, he's been one of our most consistent performers.
And he's maybe a test case for clubs not just clearing out squads and giving up on players, especially young players, and actually, coaching can improve guys, and being in a better structured team can make players more comfortable and having leadership around them. There's all of these intangibles that factor into mistakes like that either happening or not happening, and he's really got the errors out of his game. He's defended one-on-one against very difficult opponents, particularly the Avondale away game comes to mind. I thought he was really good in that game as well, defending
100%.
Against Valentini and Ahmed. Got the better of them, 90% of the game.
For the better part of the 90 minutes, definitely.
And, he's really made an improvement and a step up. So he might be my most improved at the Knights this season.
And just coming in on the comments, Rod Smith, Nicky Boy on fire in both fields. So, Nick, well, if you're doing as well outside of the club as you're doing on the field, I'm sure you're having a pretty good time of it, mate.
Speaking of having a good time, I actually managed to catch up with Tommy Uscock, Knights hero, down in Tasmania. F and I went down there to cover the game, the A-League game down there. West United were, of course, in force, and I'd never spoken to him before, but he approached me like I was an old friend, so I can only assume that he watches the Night Train every week. So hello to Tommy Uscock if you're watching.
If you are watching.
And all he wanted to talk about was NPL Victoria. So we just had a long NPL chat, and he's doing great, and really I think every time he puts in another fantastic performance in the A-League, he puts the Knights on the map to a certain extent.
Yeah. Look, and it's always good to see, ex-players. And look, Tommy, before he was a player for the Knights, he was a fan, like many of us. So credit to him for, someone who still really pays attention to what the club's doing, like a lot of our former players do. So all the best to him. And like you said, Josh, I think the better he plays in that league, it sort of just puts the Knights maybe in the forefront of a few people's minds who maybe have forgotten, a bit of the history of soccer in this country.
And the quality of players that can come out from this club. And hopefully, down the track, not too long down the track, players will have an opportunity to play their whole career at the Knights, even if they are professional calibre.
Definitely. All right, guys, we're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we will look, the prize is still up for grabs if you do want to call in, and we'll be discussing this Friday night's hit out against Green Gully.
Are you looking to raise money for your community club or charitable organisation? Club Fundraising is an Australian family-run business, and we pride ourselves in creating partnerships with clubs, helping build stronger communities. Our free online platform provides everything you need for a successful campaign. With a step-by-step interface and best-in-class payment options, Club Fundraising makes it easy for clubs and contributors alike. Revolutionise the way you fundraise. Start your free campaign today. Head to clubfundraising.com.au. That's clubfundraising.com.au. At Winnersbet, we don't just enjoy a punt, we live for it. Winnersbet is 100% Aussie owned, and we love all things racing. Up for a tote? Win and get the highest payout across the 3 national TAB totes for all winning bets on Australian gallops. And we'll pay out on both winners if your horse loses in a protest during any Australian gallop or harness. Support your local. Winnersbet. Go to winnersbet.com.au now. Gamble responsibly.
We are more than engineers. We are more than project managers. We are more than surveyors. We are more than infrastructure specialists. We are more than planners. So, who are we? We are problem solvers, providing the highest quality service and results. We are a team of skilled professionals, focused on customer needs and outcomes. We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. We are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
The Night Train is brought to you by St Andrew's Hotel, 128 Nicholson Street, Fitzroy. Beautifully crafted, cosy and intimate spaces for your drinking and dining experiences.
And welcome back to the show, guys. Now,
Shame. Shame. Shame.
now look, we've got to give Hume a bit of a shout out. I mean, they've done their best to try and shame the FFV. So here you go, a bit of shame to the FFV. Come on, boys, pull your socks up. I don't know how that's not given a penalty, Josh. We're going to harp on about it again, but like,
he caught the ball.
Shame, man. He caught the ball. He caught the ball.
Thanks to Hume for saying what everyone was thinking and copping the fine for...
Thank you for copping the fine that we would normally cop. Thank you very much, Hume. Now, look, Josh, we've got a massive game on Friday night against Green Gully, a top-of-the-table clash. It's going to be, for me, it's going to be a very interesting affair. I think the two sort of contrasting styles of football that are going to be played on Friday night. Our press, I think, is really going to negate some of what they do well. But again, they're dangerous enough up front that if we're going to play in terms of not taking chances like we did on Friday night, Gully's a team that might just be able to do enough damage to take the 3 points.
Yeah, look, I think they are a better team than how they played on Friday night. against Dandy City. They've got quality in the squad, we know that. But they've got weaknesses as well. I think they're very vulnerable on the break, the way they push forward. You know, they're playing a midfield three at the moment without a holding midfielder.
Yeah.
They've got Luke Jago, Nick Georgopoulos, and the 6 is Jay Davies. He's not a 6.
No,
I mean,
he's not a 6 at all.
I mean, if he's a 6, he's a 6 in like the PLO mold. He's not going to be doing that much defending.
Nah.
And when he tries to defend, he sometimes goes studs up on Jonathan D'Amano and gets a 5-week suspension. So
These things happen.
You know, he's like obviously a very good player, but if you cut off his forward options and don't let him run the game, you can shut a lot of what Green Gully do down. The problem is you just have to make sure that you don't have a slip up and let Alex Salmon in for something easy on the break.
No, definitely not.
Because he's lethal, and he barely had a sniff apart from the penalty that he scored against Dandy City. They did a great job of shutting the service off to him the whole 90 minutes, and that's a exercise in concentration and discipline to keep him
definitely.
quiet.
And I think this is where I'm sort of really backing us in for Friday night, because I'm so confident in how our back fours played to this point through the season that, again, we're going to talk about it again, but the centre-back pairing of Trevor and Bryce, again on Friday, look, you kept, look, Magic didn't play great, but they had two chances for the game. They happened to put one of them away through an errant pass, but through that, how our midfield and back four sort of, they're playing that condensed. They're not giving teams space to really play into. And I think that comes down to the leadership from the back through Bryce at centre-back and Trevor next to him. They've looked absolutely phenomenal this season there. I'm backing them in to keep Salmon quiet.
Yeah, I would too. I think Dandy City did a really good job on Friday of being very compact, I think in a different area of the pitch to where Knights will try and defend. They were sitting quite deep and giving the centre-backs and Davies all the time on the ball in the world, but just trying to cut off all the passing options, which worked as well. But I think there's a strategy that I would suspect Bebic will adopt, is saying stop them playing higher up the park and try and generate more attacking opportunities off those turnovers, which is how Knights have defended this season. That's equally as effective as long as you guard in on the ball in behind, which Manos has been brilliant coming off his line all season.
Yeah,
really proactive.
Definitely. It's going to be an absolutely bumper game. We hope to see you all down at Green Gully on Friday night, 8:30, I believe the kickoff time is. And now, look, the merch is available in the online store. We've got James Baxter on the Facebook Live. Love the look of the new beanies. Hopefully we'll be able to pick one up online soon. The merch will be available in the online store in the coming weeks. But your best bet is, as always, is to come down when we've got a home game and just pick it up directly. Have a chat to Jerome in the merch kiosk. He's a lovely bloke. Him and his missus are normally in there. They'll look after you. They sorted a fair few people out on Friday night with those new puffer jackets we've got coming in. They look phenomenal. So, Josh, once again, been a wonderful show. Thanks for doing it with me again this week, mate. And hope to see you on Friday night.
Yeah, look, I'll see what my commentary appointment ends up being, but fingers crossed I get the game, and I'll hopefully see you down there. It's going to be a really good contest between two teams who try and play some football.
Yeah.
Regardless of Green Gully's poor form, they got quality and they're going to put on a good show.
Definitely.
So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm backing the Knights in for a win.
I'm backing us in as well, Josh. Now I'm going to give you I'm going to go first this week with the score prediction. I'm going to pick a 2-1 win for us.
2-1. I reckon 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah.
Josh, even more confident than I am. Love to see it.
Well, I wasn't too impressed with him last Friday. So
yeah, fair enough. You've probably seen a bit more of him this year than I have, but we're both back in the Knights in for a win this Friday. Hopefully all the supporters are as well. Looking forward to seeing you all at the ground on Friday night to come down and support this wonderful club, hopefully to get our next win of the season. Been a wonderful show, and we'll see you next week.
Their time has arrived. I think last week that 10-man performance in the preliminary final was absolutely exceptional, so I'm going for the Knights.
When you talk of Knights, it's a real fighting team.
Buskak into the back of the net. Melbourne Knights take the lead 1-0. Melbourne Knights will win the Doherty Cup.
Fans salute the goal that could be so vital.